So I've been seeing a lot of stuff that suggests that the Warriors want to trade their second pick, but when I dive into the details of how they would do that, it gets kind of tough, because Wiggins is their one real trade piece, because I doubt they're going to move Draymond, and I don't really think they could make a move for a guy on a rookie contract with that second pick. I mean, if it was possible, then they could move like Pascal and Looney or whatever to make the money work, but it seems like Wiggins is the guy. And then it's a matter of, do other teams want Andrew Wiggins? And now the other thing they could do is they could trade Iguodala's trade exception, which is $17 million plus the second pick for someone, but then they would only be able to get somebody who makes less than $17 million, and those type of guys are typically not worth the second pick in the draft. I mean, you can name a whole bunch of dudes for next season who are around that number, whether it's Evan Fournier or Karis LeVert or Dennis Schroeder, Kelly Oubre, Jonas Valanciunas, Taurean Prince, Will Barton, Marcus Smart. I don't think any of those guys are worth the second pick in the draft. I mean, I know this draft isn't supposed to be as awesome, but I mean, really? Like, if it was between Anthony Edwards or any of that stuff, I would just take Anthony Edwards at that point. Now, I guess it's a possibility that the Warriors could trade that exception with picks that are not the second pick in this draft. Whether the teams on the other side would be okay with that, I don't know. But anyway, if we talk about trading Wiggins, because this is the real way that the Warriors could pull off a big move, because Wiggins is making $29 million next season. So then you just start thinking of teams that could actually talk themselves into Andrew Wiggins, and then you got to find a move. I mean, the one that I immediately think of is Wiggins for Blake Griffin. Now, I would not do that, because I would not trust Blake to be healthy. And I don't even know if I would do that if I was the Pistons, because then I'd be locking myself into Wiggins for longer than Blake's contract. But the way you could rationalize it for Detroit would be they're just desperate for any sort of mid-20-year-old talent. And for the Warriors, it's, well, if Blake is healthy, which that's a big if, but if he is, then he's better than Wiggins. And then the Warriors and Pistons would swap the 2nd and 7th picks. I could picture a team like Cleveland thinking about Wiggins, but I don't think they have anything the Warriors would want. Unless the Warriors just loved the hell out of Larry Nance, and then you could do the trade exception and the second pick for Nance, and then Cleveland gives you their pick. But again, it's like, second pick for Larry Nance? I mean, I guess if you're the Warriors, if you just like somebody who's going to be available later on way more than the guys who are going to be projected to be selected with the second pick, then perhaps you would still view that as a positive. I mean, I think one guy who the Warriors could maybe see as worth the second pick would be Drew, and Wiggins' contract makes that work, but if I'm the Pelicans, I think I just get worse. I mean, yeah, I get younger going from Drew to Wiggins, but I also think I am just not as good, so why do I do that? I mean, I've got to love the hell out of the second pick to do that. Another random one that I saw would be, and I don't think this will happen, but it could be something like the Raptors take on Wiggins, and then they send the Warriors Ibaka in a sign-and trade, as well as Norman Powell. And then the Raptors also get the second pick. But yeah, again, man, it just comes down to Wiggins, pretty much. So that's kind of where I stand on the Warriors trading the pick. I mean, I could sit here and try to find examples all day, but I just don't know who's going to want Wiggins. Now, I will say again, is it possible that they could trade for somebody who's on a rookie contract, and they would trade Pascal and Jordan Poole and Kevon Looney or whatever, plus the second pick for that guy? Yeah, but I figure if a guy is good enough on his rookie contract for the Warriors to want him, then his current team is just going to want to hold on to him. I mean, I guess something that could be kind of wild would be if the Bulls, I don't think this will actually happen, but if the Bulls were desperate enough to go from 4 to 2, and they were willing to give up Markkanen because maybe they just soured on him for whatever reason, then the Warriors could actually match that money, and then they could just swap picks with each other, and the Warriors move down to number 4. Another example of this could be if Atlanta wanted to get there and they were willing to part with Kevin Huerter, DeAndre Hunter, just that hodgepodge of guys. I don't know. I guess it's a possibility. If the Warriors like someone more at, let's say, number 6 than they would at number 2, and they figure, yeah, we can just get a couple of guys, why not? The status of the second pick just might be like that this year. I'm pretty sure I already mentioned this, but if they wanted to, they could use the second pick with the trade exception to Phoenix for Oubre, and then Phoenix gives them the 10th pick. And then maybe the Warriors really like who they could pick at number 10. That's kind of the idea, man. I don't think that one will happen either, though. So the other thing I want to talk about is what if the Warriors just used the pick? We think about the fit of Edwards, LaMelo, and Wiseman in Golden State. I mean, I understand from a position standpoint why you could view Edwards as redundant, but I think the Warriors would just look at him as you can never have enough wing players. But I just don't know if Edwards is ready to play in Golden State's system, you know, with all the ball movement and the off-ball screens and the handoff plays and making snap decisions with the ball rather than dribbling for a few seconds, trying to set up a shot or a drive and then passing it off to somebody else. Yeah, you look at it one of two ways. You can say you put Edwards in the Warriors system and they can fix him and make him a smart player and do all that stuff, and then they can take advantage of the things he does well, which is being a bulldozer going to the rim. Or you could look at it as he can't make it work there. I don't know. In the case of LaMelo, I think with LaMelo it's just, if you select him, you just might not be maximizing his skill set. Because I feel like if you're drafting someone who you want to fit in, and you don't want them to dribble and dribble and dribble all day and run a million pick and rolls, then it's kind of like, why are you drafting LaMelo? I mean, I think there's a fine line between adjusting a guy's game for your team's needs and just picking the wrong dude. And I feel like LaMelo maybe goes a little too far in the other direction for the Warriors. But at the same time, if you think he's the best player and you don't find a trade for the second pick, then perhaps you just do it anyway. In the case of Wiseman, I mean, the fit is pretty self-explanatory. They need a center. They need size going up against AD and Jokic, because these are not the Warriors of the past few years where, because of Kevin Durant, the size differences didn't matter. So that's one of the reasons to select Wiseman. But I'm hearing that the Warriors don't really want to pick a center. They look at it as they can get a center through free agency or small trades or whatever, and they don't want to pay a center how much it would cost with the second pick. But in terms of seamless fits among the top 3 dudes, well, the consensus top 3, you don't really know with this draft, it just seems like Wiseman's the easiest one, man. I mean, the screen setting and the catching Draymond lobs, and with how much the Warriors care about defense, you'd hope that that would rub off on Wiseman. But if they don't think he's that good, then there you go. Now, in the case of Okongwu, I would assume if the Warriors end up trading down, they would select Okongwu. It just seems from everybody's mock drafts that everybody thinks Okongwu is going to go later than Wiseman, which is kind of weird because as I read the descriptions of both of them, I'm kind of like, I think I'd rather have Okongwu. He seems like a safer bet at center, but whatever. I guess in terms of play style, you could view Denny as maybe the best fit among the top guys in Golden State because, you know, he's a wing. He's a little taller than some of the other wings. He's got more of a passing thing to his game as well. He cares a little bit more about defense. And I think in a system in which there's a lot of passing and a lot of side-to-side movement and stuff, it just seems like Denny is the most seamless fit because he seems like he's kind of made to play that sort of style, you know? I think you could say Tyrese Halliburton is a little similar to Denny as well. Although, scouts seem to be higher on Denny for what that's worth. So yeah, basically, where am I at on the Warriors pick? I think it's going to be tough to trade for something really good, because it all comes down to whether a team is going to want Wiggins like that. But I don't think that's the end of the world because, I don't know, I still feel like the players in this draft could end up in the Warriors system and do pretty alright. I think Killian Hayes has a chance in this as well. So yeah, I figure it'll be alright with the Warriors. Like, even if they don't end up trading the pick, or maybe it's traded, but it's a return where we're all kind of like, oh, okay, out for the second pick, alright, whatever, man. But then they still have a pick in the top 10, and then they select the guy they really want, and that type of thing. So we'll see. We're still waiting a little while for the draft.